All right. I am so happy to have Megan Jones, the owner of Megan Michael Photography, on the podcast today. She is it's a perfect time of the year for her to be on because we're going to talk about Santa photos. Megan stuck out to me when I saw a post that she did that she was doing $36,000 on 12 Santa mini sessions over one weekend. Obviously, I was incredibly intrigued, so I had to go reach out to her and learn more. So Megan's studio is out of Omaha. Excuse me, guys. Omaha, Nebraska. Not only does Megan do Santa photos, but she's also an incredible family and senior photographer. I'm excited to have her here today and learn more about this genre and see how Megan is doing this with so much success. Megan, I'm so excited to have you here today. Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me. I appreciate it.
So I have to start. I know we talked a little bit before we got on here, but like, how did this all start? Like, I mean, you like, I know we're gonna get to the $36,000 day mini sessions, but where did you get started in this Santa stuff, and what
So
motivated you to do it?
my son was born. So there were people in my area that were doing the like sit on Santa's lap and take your basic photos. And so I did that for the first year. And then my son became more interactive. And first off, I didn't want to go to a mall and wait in line. And so when I grew up, Christmas was the biggest deal around our house. My mom our house was decorated from tops of the cabinets to down to the basement. We had like multiple trees. Like she was real extra. So I, inherited that. So I'm extra about everything. And then Christmas is like a whole nother level of extra. So when I had my first son, I was like, I want the most bougie Christmas photos ever. So that's when it started. So that was the same time I started doing like the imagination sessions, which are like, composite. I call mine imagination sessions, composite sessions. So I was like, well, I know how to edit well, why not do it? So that was 9 years ago is when we started doing like the, magical
Well,
Santa.
and I love that you call him bougie because right before we got on here,
Bougie.
no, I love it. Right. And I think that's the word I was kind of looking for right before we got on the podcast. You were saying how more and more people are doing this. And
Yeah.
I was even commenting to you about like, yeah, I see it. I see people posting and advertising and stuff in my area and everything, but they're not what you're doing. Yours is unique. I mean, I've seen other people do similar to what you do, but I don't think what you're doing is like, I think it's special. It's bougie. It's different, and it's something I want to get into here in a little bit more, but it's just like I have always gone with the mentality, and it's a wrong mentality after talking to you and seeing what you're doing, of nobody's going to spend a lot of money on Christmas photos,
But they
because
do.
I know, but it's just like something that they have on their table for 2 months
Yeah.
out of the year, and then it's gone and it's put away in the attic somewhere. So just curious. So like, I know you do senior photos and family. Like, what kind of percentages of your like yearly revenue does the Santa photos?
So we do about a third, almost a third of our revenue in a 3-week time frame.
That is
So
so amazing. It's
yeah,
like,
we did. So last year we did a little over $210,000 within a 3-week time frame. So
so
it's
if you
it's a good revenue generator for sure.
I turned to my wife after I saw your thing and I said, I would love to get this to turn into a thing that I do 3 weeks of work in my
It's so
business
worth
around the
it.
hall, and then and then close out for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
I'm done.
yeah. And I don't do a lot. So I also shoot a lot of boudoir. So once Santa's done, I do my imagination Christmas ones because those are fun for me. Those are like my composite Christmas sessions and I can do all the things with those. And I do boudoir and then the rest of the year I travel with my kiddos. So it's fun.
That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
and your stuff is so unique. I love it. And I can't wait to dive into that a little bit more. So I'm not gonna lie, like I said before, I've always had it in my head that it was hard to do high dollar sales with Santa sessions because they're seasonal. This is in my head, and so we're gonna dive into this.
Yeah.
They're seasonal. They aren't gonna sit around outside of your, on the coffee table year round. Not only that, but you're breaking the idea that you can do killer sales, and you're in. I mean, no offense, but you're in Omaha, Nebraska,
Yeah.
a
I'm actually
population
not
of
in
like
Omaha. I'm in Gretna, Nebraska, which is a small suburb of Omaha, Nebraska.
But even so, Omaha,
Yeah.
maybe like 400,000 people, and you're
Yeah.
like doing $200,000 in sales in 3 weeks,
Yeah.
on Santa sessions. So, and if you live outside of the United States and you're listening to this, because I know we have a lot of people that are in other countries and stuff, but um, Omaha is not, like I said, it's not a big city. I'm in Houston where we have like 5-6 million people. Megan's in a
Oh,
place where
it's only in Omaha that you will be driving your kids to school, and then a tractor. You have to slow down because the tractor.
there you go. There
Not
you go.
not even kidding. That actually happens.
Yes,
So
it's super small, but I mean, what you're doing, and people are spending $2,500 to $3,000 on Santa photos. Talk me through that, like, because I have so many questions when it comes to that, because it's just like, how are you selling it so that it is a long lifetime timeless thing, as opposed to, go to the mall and you do your Santas and you get the little cardboard flippity flip with a photo in it, you pay 50
yeah.
bucks or whatever, and it goes and it gets put in a drawer after the end of the Christmas season.
So the craziest part about my Santa sessions is 50% of the clients that come every single year. So and they're spending upwards $3,000-$4,000 every single year for their photos. So
That's ridiculous.
I mean, it also has a
Ridiculous in
way
a good way.
the way that I brand it, obviously it is the Santa experience. So I have multiple sets. So I have 5 different sets at all times, and they go through a very specific things that they're doing. So everything is scripted. My Santa is on point. I also have an assistant that is super on point. So we're able to get through about 35 different poses during our 25-minute session. So how I structure these is I shoot 16 sessions a day. We start at 9, we end at 5. We take a half hour for lunch because we all need that mental break for lunchtime.
Santa probably needs a break too.
Yeah, we are every 25 minutes with a 5-minute reset between every single one of these sessions. So it all starts from the beginning of branding the entire thing. So it's an experience. So these kids are so excited to be able to, when they get in there, they're so excited because they get a letter that invites them to the studio. And we do small things like we spray it with peppermint oil. We have glitter in the thing. So when they're opening these letters, it's especially, put out to them an invitation to come into the studio from Santa. It comes from the North Pole. It smells like Christmas, this whole thing. And I've also made it where people have like open those online and they post their videos. So it's real easy to book them when everybody is advertising for you.
It's like, hey kids, we're going to Disney World.
And then and then somebody sees their friend's kid opening this and they're like, oh my God, it's, I have to do that too, because these kids are so excited. So by the time they get in there, they're already like losing their minds because they're so excited, and everything is scripted. So it takes through this whole entire process. And so the parents are watching, sitting there like in amazement because everything's dark in there. We light everything with our 86-inch PLM. So it's essentially like a spotlight just on Santa and your adorable children doing adorable Christmas things. So we are selling not just Christmas photos. We are selling capturing the innocence of your children, because think of like, when you think of your kids believing in Santa, they're so excited about this mythical creature essentially. And it's just the innocence of children. So the things that they're doing is, having hot chocolate, doing cheers, praying, sleeping, checking Santa's bag, checking his list, like every kid's names are on the list. And the parents are remembering all these things that happen throughout the session, because we try to make it as magical as we can, not just for the kids, but for the parents to watch it as well. So when they come into the sales room, which I have pre-sold for months prior, once they get into the sales room, these people know exactly what they want to order. So how I've really got these giant sales is I create this bougie storybook that has all of their images in it. It's this beautiful 12, I don't even have, I mean, I probably do if I dig through boxes, but it's this beautiful 12 by 12 velvet gilded edge. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's $3,400, and more than half my sessions buy that.
Wow.
And then
if you don't mind me asking, where do you get your album from for this?
So it's from a small company out of Greece. Like it's just this tiny little company, and I mean tiny, and I have them custom make stuff for me. Like, and it's a small company, so they're like sure, we're more than happy to make those
Yeah.
for you. They're
Yeah.
selling
Okay,
a
so
ton
I'm
of,
assuming it's the same kind of thing every single year with that company. Like
yeah.
you're not doing a custom thing like from scratch, from ground zero every single year on
Oh
this thing, other
no.
than the photos.
Oh no, I rewrite the book
No, so
custom.
that I'm saying the rewriting, but like, you have a new book or a new theme or
Yeah,
whatever.
so
What I'm saying is
I
like
do
the
a new,
binding and all that stuff, it kind of
that's all
stays
the
the same.
same. Yep,
Yeah,
and it's like, yep, and it's we just change the color of it.
got
So
it.
there's different colors for every single year. Some people like to keep the same colors, but for the most part, people want like whatever year it is, they want the specific color. And it's like this beautiful coffee table album, and people get those and they'll come just to get those every single year.
So in that album, $3,500 album, how many photos do you usually are in that album?
20. And so that includes 20 digital files as well.
Okay.
So that's an easy sale. And I also do like build a collection model. So you have in order like it's like say $3,900 for the album, but if they're in a collection, then it's a less expensive price. So they can add a wall art, and then I do their Christmas cards, then it becomes a collection model. So they're like, "Oh, that makes sense. I'm also going to do a wall art as well."
Well, and it
So
sounds like if your album is only like 30, what did you say it was?
it's like 34.99 or
But then
something.
you're doing this collection where you're getting a piece of wall art, and like it's a no-brainer to go and do that because it's just like $500 more or whatever, and you're going to do my Christmas cards and you're
Yeah.
going to do this piece of wall art or something.
And the best thing on Christmas cards is, when you get a card from Shutterfly, it has their logo on there.
And it's
Why not
got
put
your
your
logo.
logo? It's free advertising,
There
and
you go.
you're also marketing to all these people that you normally wouldn't have access to. So Christmas cards are the best.
So a couple of things that you said. Gosh, there's so many things I want to ask. I'm trying to stay like in the
You're
same
fine.
direction, but
Ask
this is gonna be a little sporadic, people. I'm sorry, but so you mentioned you do 5 sets, right? And when you and I first reached out to you and stuff, I was like, oh wow, I can't do 5 sets in my studio because I mean
You don't
it's
have.
literally it's like I can't remember what size it is, but I could maybe do 3. So talk us through like how that kind of sets up, and what could somebody do with the space that they have, and how big of a space would you recommend? And I,
You could do it. I think you could easily do 2 sets, and you could have the same kind of sales in it, because it's essentially I'm just like spreading them out across all these sets, but it's completely unnecessary. And I haven't tested it. I love all the sets, so and I
right,
enjoy.
right, right.
So, I think if you had a solid living room set and like a Santa's workshop type set, you could do easy $3,000 sales.
How much are you doing? Like, because your sets are really elaborate looking,
They're
and
not they're not elaborate.
okay, but that's what I'm saying. That's where I was
Yeah.
going. It's just like they look very elaborate. How much of it is the backdrop itself versus the actual props that are in it? Because when you look at it, it's very 3D looking. But I know that there's so many backdrops out there anymore that are just like very 3D looking, and they're whole 100% 2D looking. They're actual 2D things.
So I use Baby Dream backdrops, and they have great backdrops, and the thing is lighting them correctly to be able to make it look like it's 3D. So, I'm not super technical on my lighting. I prefer a simple light setup. So I side light, and then I do a strip light from above to get the hair light going on. But it's mostly backdrop. I'm literally adding, say 10 little prop things, and that's all I'm doing. A lot of it comes in the editing process and the way that we shoot it.
And then how much depth are you getting in those backdrops? Because and then like what are like what f-stop are you shooting at, if you don't mind technical type of things? Because it's
5.6.
just like 5.6. Okay, so you're still how much depth are you getting? Because like I found with backdrops that are like that, and you when you do too wide, and especially a wide shot, it's
Yeah.
just like it looks very flat and gross.
Um, I think it's just that side light that does it, because it's, such a big PLM that it creates like the most perfect light going on with it. And it does it. I mean, I shoot 5.6. I maybe have 3 feet behind like Santa to the backdrop is probably about all I have.
And then do you you said are you using constant lights? It sounded like you maybe used, you'd using
I use
strobes.
Einstein's. I use strobes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. what you said something that made me think, oh, you're using constant light.
No.
That'd be crazy cool.
So
But
I use a model light. So that's probably what you're talking about. So I turn off all the lights in the studio. So
oh,
and the
so you
reason
turn your
I
model light on so that you have that. Okay, yeah,
so and
that's where I got that.
the
The
reason
constant.
I do that is because when a kid sees their parent, they're like, oh my God, should I be freaking out? You know,
Hmm.
so I actually, when I bring the parents and they sit, you know, on this couch that's kind of hidden in the side, and because it's dark, they're able to completely like immerse into
Gotcha.
what Santa's doing versus looking to their parents for any sort of reassurance or should I be freaking out or anything like that. So I keep it completely dark in the studio except for what's happening with Santa and the kid.
So I'm assuming that if you're doing 5 different setups, you have 5 different setups of lights. Is that
I
correctly?
don't.
Oh,
I
you're
just
moving
stack
them
'em.
through. Oh,
I just
really?
stack them
Wow,
on
that's
over.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have cords that are like all wrapped up in each other. So I'm one of those people that, you know, I have like, you know, the brand new Sony, whatever it is, not technical, not a gearhead. I will use like my laptop and my cameras until they literally stop working on me. So I'm using an Einstein that has like a cord. I need to go cordless. Like that would make my life a lot easier.
Yeah, so I use Westcott's. I'm a whole Westcott guy, and
Yeah.
everything's wireless and everything's that no
Yeah.
cables and stuff like
I'm
that.
not
So
fancy like that. Like
uh,
I
I
will use
can't.
those
I deal
until
with
they fall
dogs every
asleep.
day, so it's just like
That's true.
I can't have. We have constant lights because like it's the joke I've been saying lately. It's like I feel like every dog that I've had in here has just been like a little skittish, and I've been using constant lights a lot more
Yeah.
lately. But because like dogs don't like the
Yeah.
strobes, you know, so but so I do have a setup for that. But anyway, but that's good to know that you like. I mean, and I think for the listener that's thinking 5 setups and this elaborate light setup that you're going to do in 25 minutes, how do you do that with you know, you have to have multiple lights because that's what I'm envisioning in my head. It's really good to hear that you're just doing the same setup and you're just. I'm assuming they're on wheels and you just kind
Yeah,
of.
I'm fancy. I have wheels on the bottom of
There you
them.
go. That's your fancy. You don't need
That's my
you
fancy
don't
right
need
there.
batteries. You just
Yeah.
need fancy
It
wheels.
plugs in. It's some fancy wheels that I can just move it over the cord.
There you go. There you go.
Super fancy. Super
Nice.
fancy.
Nice. So out of curiosity, this is another mindset thing that I would love to hear your thoughts on because you're doing it and you're doing it successfully. Another mindset thing that I have is trying to do something elaborate what you're doing. Like I saw you have an advertisement for some not Santa sessions, but for some Christmassy kind of sessions
Yeah.
this weekend, and coming up on like Thanksgiving weekend, and you do your Santa sessions probably last week and the week before, or a couple of weeks
I
before.
start end of October. So I start before Halloween.
Okay, and then how quickly do the sales happen after your sessions?
The next day and the day after. So if I shoot Saturday and Sunday, that's 32 sessions. I will do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for order sessions so that I have Thursday and Friday to be caught up.
So how long does a sales session usually last for something like this?
45 minutes. Well,
Okay.
usually 30 minutes, but I space them 45 minutes apart.
Okay. Okay, cool. So I guess this is where I was going with this question.
Sure.
I know my lab and a lot of labs in the country, in the world, right? You get into this time frame. Good luck getting your stuff before Christmas, right?
Yeah.
How are people getting their stuff before Christmas in this timeline that you're doing it? And how quickly are you turning these things over? And what's your process to get those things turned over? Because your stuff is very like I'm assuming you've got it all down and you've got a method to your madness for your editing and stuff, but there's some editing that goes into this, and it's not just like takes you 2 seconds, do a little color correction and you move on. How much
Yeah.
time is it taking you after the ordering is done? Because I know you and I had talked, you don't do any edits until after the ordering session.
Oh, heck no. No.
Yeah. Which I totally agree because your
Yeah.
editing is pretty elaborate. And obviously, because you're doing such a quick turnaround, you're probably not doing any kind of proofing, correct?
Nope. Nope.
And
So
so,
they see straight out of the camera raw images. They
okay.
are rough. They have all my cords in them from all my corded lights. They have, you know, like snot all over the kid's face, like whatever. All of that's there for their order session. And so I don't allow children in the order session rooms and for multiple reasons.
That's a
But
gift.
but I have like my main thing of why the kids aren't allowed to be in there is because the magic isn't added yet. And I only want the kids to see what they imagined in their head was happening in the session.
And I
So
think that's a selling point too for parents,
it,
because it's like, here's your
it,
gift that you're going to give them on Christmas Day or whatever, and they don't want to see you're seeing the finished product.
yeah, you
Right?
like, and I that's part of it is like, I want the kids to be like, when I was throwing those letters up in the air, they're imagining it and it actually happened, because all they're seeing is the finished product. I don't want them to see where their hands are up and it just looks stupid at that point. But parents have seen enough of my work over the time that they can imagine what it is.
Yeah.
But no, so the kids are not allowed in the order space
Okay.
because of that particular
Are
reason.
you doing in-person sales? Or are you doing like in-person or are you doing it over Zoom?
No, I only do in-person sales, because I think in order to sell a $3,500 album, somebody needs to hold that album to understand the quality of it, or you're never going to be able to sell it.
So
That's my opinion.
So they don't see that album, that finished product from a previous year or whatever. They don't
No,
see.
they do. They'll see like my sample album, but
Okay.
in order to sell it, like I have everybody come into the studio. I want them to see all of the artwork, all of that kind of stuff. Everybody has to come into the studio. But you asked about, are my clients able to get all their stuff before Thanksgiving? Absolutely. So,
Well, before Thanksgiving, I meant before Christmas. Like, are you
they'll
getting?
have, most of them are going to have it before Thanksgiving.
How are you getting albums out that fast?
I mean, if you can see my office right now, these are all orders that need to be unpackaged and sorted out. My whole front porch is so full that I can't even walk into my house. So
So
we
your
actually have,
album person is able to flip them out that fast?
yeah.
Wow.
So my process is, they come in for their session. Say they come in for their session on Sunday. They then will come in on Monday for their order session. I'm able to get those images turned around by Friday, which means that we have all their product ordered, their albums designed and ordered within a week of their session. So then it's a 2-week turnaround time. So it's less than a 3-week turnaround time.
Wow, that's crazy. 2 weeks for an album. That's awesome. I mean, I'm glad you were able to find. I can't say that about where I go and get my stuff, which I'm not gonna knock on that. There's a reason behind all that stuff, but that's awesome that you're able to turn that stuff around.
Yeah,
So
we are a
quickly.
well-oiled machine behind the.
Yeah, you have to be like, and so you're starting end of October, and by mid-November. I mean, I know you have this one that's coming up this next week, but it's not a Santa.
Those aren't Santa. I'm done with Santa.
Yeah, so but they're not Santa, so I'm assuming the sales are a little bit different in that regard.
Those are not the same level
Yeah.
of sales. Definitely not.
Yeah. So outside of the albums, which I feel like is just kind of a given, right?
Yeah.
What other products do people tend to buy from this kind of session besides like the album and the Christmas cards, obviously?
Digitals are huge, which I know a lot of people don't believe in selling digitals. I love digitals. I price them. So when they buy a digital, I'm super happy that they buy those digitals. So as long as you price your digitals accordingly, sell some digitals and make them printable up to an 8x10. So every digital that I have, you can have it. It's for social media sharing. Go ahead, post it everywhere, because that's going to have more people book me for the following year.
Right.
And then wall art, that's my biggest. And for my wall art, I do framed canvases and they're called painted portraits. I don't have time to paint portraits this time of the year. So ACI is my lab. So they do a coating on them, which is if you go under it's like a finishing thing.
Mhm.
It's called contour brush strokes. And it literally looks like they're painted, and I can sell the crap out of those. And then we frame them, sell them. And then they also, because it's almost like a Mod Podge lacquer over it. So they're super durable as well, because you think of people aren't leaving these out all year long. They're going to be storing these. So it's a super easy way to store them. So
Okay.
that's
is ACI framing those for you guys too?
So they're not. So I use JB Framing. So ACI drop ships to JB Framing. They're out of Iowa. And then he sends them directly. And somebody from his office actually drives up here once a week, because I have so many that it's not even worth shipping them. They drive the 6 hours and drop them off for me.
So
if you want a good framer, JB Framing, there's his plug. He
there you
is amazing. It's JB Frame and Design, and
I'm assuming you don't offer like a crazy amount of frames. You have a pretty limited.
I offer like 30 different frames.
Oh, wow. That's more than I
Most people
thought.
pick well, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me how many frames it is.
Yeah,
I
I
have
just I feel like I mean, again, this is a mindset thing, but it's just like overwhelming. I already feel like I overwhelm my clients with
So I
stuff.
tell people what I like. So I feel like if you're guiding your clients through your sales process and they're gonna buy what you tell them to
No,
buy.
I agree. I agree. I
So
agree.
I will I'll pull the image up on my screen and then I'm like, this is the frame. Do you want a traditional? Do you want a modern? And then whatever one they're like, oh, I like the traditional one. Done.
So you said that you sell digitals like as part of your thing, but like correct me if I'm wrong, you also said earlier your digitals are included in the album.
Yes. So if they don't want to purchase the album, they can buy digital separately from that. So
Okay.
I sell a lot of folio boxes and albums. Digitals are included in folio boxes and albums. However, if they don't want to buy a folio box or an album, they can buy digitals separately from those.
Okay. So like and I also noticed that your marketing is you pay the session fee, you get two digitals as part
Yep.
of that session fee, right? And then obviously on the tail end is where you're actually making the sale. So talk to us about the sales process because I'm assuming with something like this, especially if you're getting somebody to a $3,000 plus sale, the sale starts from the beginning. It's not, hey, you go you go do your session, you go in and you get, hey, you get two digitals, but here's these other things. Like how
Now you're gonna spend
yeah,
$3,000.
yeah, right, right. So
Uh,
talk to us about that and everything.
So I'm branded here as obviously like a high-end photographer. So
Right.
people coming in, I have a high-end clientele, but I also have a lot of teachers and nurses and like it's not everybody's making a bazillion dollars a year to be able
Mhm.
to afford this. People budget for this. Like it's something that has become part of their holiday traditions to be able to do it and they'll come in and drop a solid chunk. But I have a Facebook group. So all the people that book join this Facebook group and I am doing like product spotlights. And I start them in September. So I go over all of these things and people literally will jump on there that have done it before and is like, oh, I'm getting out my 40-inch canvas that I ordered last year. And they'll post a video of them getting out there like my clients like advertise for me. It is glorious. But
So
they
you're
so it
$0 advertising costs at this
yeah, no,
point.
I mean, I do some advertising too, but they like my clients are just fantastic that they're like, every year we get out ours and my kids just swoon over it, or this is a staple piece. And I sell them as heirloom pieces because they're not getting it out just once a year. They're going to get that out when they have, their kids grown and gone, when they have grandkids. Like that is something they are going to continually get out. It's a staple piece for your Christmas decoration. So it's not just a, 1 month out of the year thing. You're going to have that out for 30 some years.
No,
So it's
yeah.
an emotional purchase for sure. And do I pull on the heartstrings on it? No, because I don't have to because their kids are adorable and or
Mhm.
they think their kids are adorable and they're wanting to capture the innocence of their kids at that particular age.
So what age group do you usually see like where does it kind of drop off where like okay, the kids are getting too old or do you have like I mean, I think there's probably some teenagers out there that's just like it's if you've been doing it all your life, it's part of your childhood and you're still going to
Yeah.
keep doing it even into your older. So where is that like what does that age look like?
So my typical is like 18 months to 10. That's kind of my typical. But if somebody has a younger sibling or something like that, there's definitely older kids that come in. Usually I'm not going to get a group of 15-year-olds in there, but they can. I mean, they're more than
No,
welcome.
I mean, I'm sure it drops off to a
Yeah.
certain
It's
degree
usually about
at
10.
a
Like when they
point.
stop believing in Santa is kind of when it stops, unless they have younger siblings. Like my oldest doesn't believe in Santa. He's 10. And he came in and he showed up this year. Like he showed up for his little brother and made it super exciting. So sometimes it's fun to have those older ones in there because they'll play it up so much that the younger kids are like, oh, this is awesome. Because if they see their older sibling do it, then it's the cool thing to do,
Right.
So
How are you, I'm assuming you're also preparing them and like what do you typically have I think what I've seen is mostly like pajamas or something like that. Are you like what are you recommending people to wear when they come to these sessions?
So in that Facebook group, I post links. So I like satin or velvet pajamas, or vintage pajamas, like like the cream vintage looking type pajamas.
Yeah.
like satin and velvet because it saves me a little editing time, because the way that the light hits it, I'm not having to like dodge and burn everything. Or Christmas Eve attire. So if the kids are old enough, I'm cool with doing a wardrobe change in there. And I know most people are gonna be like 25 minutes to do 5 sets and a wardrobe change.
With
It's
kids.
with kids. People know their kids more than you know their kids. So if they feel like their kids can handle a wardrobe change in there, then absolutely go do a 1 minute wardrobe change. Doesn't throw a wrench in the process. So we'll have them change. Like we have a time that's kind of a break within it that they can run, go throw on their jammies, and it just makes sense. So we did a Polar Express one this year. That was like one of our bonus sets. So it made sense to have jammies on for that one. So a lot more people probably did jammies this year than normal, but it's either Christmas Eve attire or jammies. That's kind of what we go for.
I saw one of your your promo or your ads or something like that on your Facebook, and you said something along the lines, and correct me if this is incorrect in how I'm looking at it. You said the first 3 sets and then you have extra sets. Are you charging extra for the extra sets, or is that just
So how it works, how I upsell, a big part of my upsell is that first set, that living room set is the set that's included with your 2 digital images. So they can pick their 2 digital images, which we're doing multiple things on there. So typically they're going to pick more than 2. But any of our fun sets, like we did 2 different workshops. We did like a mail room and a Polar Express type look this year. So in order to get any of those bonus sets, then they have to purchase additional things to be able to get any of the extra stuff. And that's where they're doing a lot of the really fun stuff is, throwing letters up in the air or playing Frisbee with an envelope with Santa or throwing snowballs or whatever. Those are off bonus sets. So I don't charge more to do them, but they cannot be in the included images.
Gotcha. So, but your average, like I liked how you're wording it and everything so that there's the value added when you're going and doing the other
Or
thing.
people are like, oh, I'll just pick one from each set. And it's like, no, you got to buy them. You got to buy those separately. Yeah.
Well, the other side of it too is, so it sounds like it doesn't matter if you buy just that one, if they're coming in with the intention of just buying the 2 digitals or whatever, you're still doing photos in every single set.
Unless
Right?
they tell me not, unless they tell me not to, but it's very rare that most people know. I mean, it says when they book that a typical client investment is 1,500 plus. So people understand coming into it. It's not a $500 thing that is from your booking fee. It's going to be, you're going to spend additional when you come into the order for your order.
Gotcha. So you're doing many sessions, you're doing these over a couple of different weekends and everything. How many sessions are you doing approximately every year for these?
So we did a little less this year. So the numbers were about the same, but the bookings were down. And I know that just kind of across the economy as a whole, the numbers were down. But so we did 67, I think this year. I think we did 80 some last year. One year I did 140 and I would never do that again. We kind of know our sweet spot.
Where did you have to start to do 140? You have to start in
awful.
like September?
No, we did. I mean, we were doing like Monday or Saturday, Sunday, Monday to it was stupid. I would never, ever, ever, ever recommend that to anybody. Like 70 is about kind of where I will max out ever again. Yeah.
And what days of the week are you doing? I'm assuming
Saturdays and Sundays. Yep. We shoot Saturdays and Sundays. We shoot back-to-back days. And we can shoot 16 sessions each day.
And then are you lucky enough to have the same Santa every year? Okay, so that makes it really nice. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And he's part of our well-oiled machine.
Right. And that was one of the things that I mentioned to you when I was talking about it. Cause like my father-in-law, I mean, he grows out his beard and he has the Santa look and he has the vintage Santa outfit and all that stuff. And so it's just like, oh my God, why am I not doing this?
Why are you not like I mean, everything in mine
is the mindset. So honestly, it's the mindset of what I was telling you before. Like nobody's going to spend thousands of dollars on this. And so I'd rather do a bunch of sessions that I know people are going to spend thousands of dollars on, and I'm not going to give up spots, but you're making me rethink that whole thing. Cause like what I was thinking in my head, like I said earlier, is just like, man, cause I'm always looking for a way to, we work, like I'm working this week and I'm working, like we have to do sales sessions to keep the cash flow going. Cause I mean, I'm a higher volume studio and there's goods and bads about that. That's a whole different top podcast for a different day. But anyway, but what I would love to be in a place is like you had a big chunk of cash that comes in because of something like this, and then you can kind of relax for the rest of the year because you've done in 3 weeks time, you've done $200,000 worth of stuff. Now I know that doesn't happen overnight. So those of you that are listening, you've been doing this for how long?
This 10 years.
10
So
years.
I think within a 2-year time frame, you could do 6 figures.
No,
Like
no, I,
you
I,
do
I
it.
don't I don't disagree. I
Yeah.
just, I think that I think listeners that come into podcasts
Yeah.
like this and stuff, they go, "Oh wow, I'm going to do $200,000 next year." It's like, don't get disappointed when you don't do
But
$200,000 your first year.
there's ways. Like if you like, it's the whole process. It's all these little extra things that we do that I feel like very much creates it where people are going to spend more money. And I have this down to a science at this point of all the little things that it takes to do it. It's the writing the letters, it's having a specific book, it's having themes, it's having a flow, it's being able to get very specific shots that sell and not wasting your time on shots that aren't going to sell. So we've done it enough years that we very much know the formula that it takes to be able to come in and it's like, we have 25 minutes, we're going to work our butts off in that 25 minutes, but we're making pretty good hourly wage,
Yeah. No, I
you
get it.
know.
And then how long how much time are you spending, or how much thought goes into putting that theme together every year, and how much of it changes every year? And like, are you changing, is your backdrop new every single year? Like you're going to Baby Dream backdrops and buying 5 new backdrops every year. Okay.
Yes. So, like I said before, like almost half my people are the same every year. So I do an entirely different theme every single year. I know that sounds
Wow.
completely crazy, but we start with the book, we write the book. And so like for next year, I already have every one of my backdrops ordered. I have the book written, designed. Literally everything is done, ready in a folder for next year. So I plan literally a year in advance.
That's, I mean, it's awesome. It's crazy, but it's awesome. But you've been doing this long enough that you know, and you've got like, and I'm a systems guy, but you don't know what your systems are until you actually start doing those systems.
Or you have somebody that teaches you the systems.
But that too, and we're gonna get to that. But the thing is like when you get to that place where you're actually getting those systems, it's a well-oiled machine
Yeah.
that every year it's the same. So most of your clients, from what it sounds like, are repeat clients. What's the percentage of repeat
Probably
clients?
about 50% are
Okay.
repeat.
So, and I saw, like, I think we talked about this, or I mentioned this earlier, you're already advertising and you're already selling for next year and
Mhm.
selling that stuff out now.
So I will book out more like at least 3 full days, which is, 45 sessions. I'll book those out by Black Friday for
Are
next
you
year.
doing a Black Friday special, or is it just like
You get a spot. That's the Black Friday special. Because like this year, like last year, essentially, I booked out on Black Friday, but then I added more days. So people were contacting in February and saying, well, I want a date. And I'm like, I can put you on a waiting list. And if I get enough people on a waiting list, I will open up another day. So it ended up where people were like, oh my God, well, yeah, it's a demand thing. If it becomes something that people are like, oh my God, I
no,
want to
yeah,
see that, they,
100%.
yeah.
100%. Yeah, so the other 50% that aren't repeat clients, where are you getting them? I know some of it's word of mouth and everything. Are
Yeah.
you actually doing any kind of paid advertisement? What does that look like? Like, what are you kind of doing for those things?
So I do a Facebook ad, which honestly does horrible, and I will never do it again. I tried it last year and I did this year, and I got minimal from my Facebook ads. I will not do them again. A lot of it is those Christmas cards. So I sell my Christmas cards are $79 for 25 Christmas cards, and people are like, "Why?" I sell mine for $250 because it's free advertising. Like, why
Yeah.
would you not take advantage of that? So you open up again, the bougie Christmas cards, they feel good. They're from ACI. They have like those, it's the soft feel, the cool shape with the foil, and it's different than what everybody is. And then they look at the images on there and they're like, these are gorgeous. They'll see my studio address and they'll contact me right away and like, how do I get on this for next year? Well, good thing you contacted me in January.
Right.
I'll put you on the waiting list because we book out a year in advance and people are like, oh my God, I have to get on if it's booked. It's an easy way of advertising because it's free
Well,
and you're
yeah, and
reaching.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think we get into the mindset sometimes with photography that it's just like we have to make money on everything that we do. And it's sometimes it's like you're like what you're saying. It's just like, I would rather, I mean, I'm packaging these letters or these Christmas cards into what I've already made my money on
Yeah.
in anyway. So why not put it in? And now it's value to them because they don't have to go out and make the Christmas
Right.
cards. You're doing it for them. And so you're adding value to your client, but at the same time, what your client doesn't know, but you know, and that we need to know as photographers is now they're selling you because your name is on the thing, your images are on the thing. It's the same thing with singer photography. Singer
Yeah.
photography is the same way with the invitations and stuff because the invitations are going to go to their friends, and their friends are not
Yeah.
just
Their friends'
singers, they're
parents.
juniors
Yeah.
and sophomores and stuff like that. And they're coming and they're getting it from their parents and all that stuff. And it's like free advertising, but I think there's a lot of times photographers look at it as like, no, I got to make money. I've got to, like, my profit margins has to be X amount of times of whatever my cost of goods is. Like, for most things I would agree, yes, but for some things strategically that doesn't matter. It's like, stop worrying about that stuff.
So another thing that I have done over the years is I donate to a lot of the galas. So any of the super high end galas, I say $250 a ticket or more, I will donate a Santa session or a boudoir, whatever fits that particular gala. So you are hitting a clientele there that is willing to go to a gala that they're gonna spend $250 a ticket, so at least $500 a couple, drop money on wardrobe, plus they're gonna go spend probably thousands of dollars at the silent auction. You're hitting a clientele that has money to be able to
Right.
spend.
Right.
So, and typically they're the ones that have the houses that want to display beautiful wall art, etc. So when I donate to those silent auctions, I say this is a standalone piece. Like it cannot be put into a gift basket. Like don't put it in a gift basket. It's its own thing. And somebody from the organization has to come to my studio and pick up a display piece. So you are then displaying a beautiful piece of art at the gala, hitting all of these people that are your direct market. So I had I don't know, an $8,000, $9,000 Santa session last year that I donated to a gala, and they bought it from a silent auction. So
Nice.
you just have to figure out what's your
Oh yeah.
specific target market and figure out ways to market to them.
Funny question. Do you keep your Santa stuff in your studio? Not your sets. Obviously, you're going to tear down your sets, but do you
Yeah.
keep your display items up year round?
No. So I keep one up on one of my side walls and then I swap it out. I change mine like 4 times a year, depending on the season. But I keep one because say somebody's coming in for a child session throughout the year, they're going to see that and be like, oh, how do I book
Santa says,
that? Yeah.
what
How
is
do I
that?
book
Oh,
that
what is
as
that? And
well?
that's just
Yeah.
a piece of wall art, right? You're not leaving albums out or sample
No,
albums or anything like that.
no, I mean, I have like just some old books like on the copy table, just where I have all old albums, but for the most part, it's just the wall art.
And then do you pull that stuff out like when you're starting to do the sessions or before the sessions as part of your advertising? Because like for me, I'm thinking, I'm just thinking in my head, it's like, okay, as we're gearing up for Christmas, like I worked with a business coach for Mark Rosetto, and he talks about like, putting out or you put out your Christmas stuff like early September, because now you're getting people in the mindset when they come into your studio, they're the poo-pooers are coming by going, it's not even Halloween yet, and you got your Christmas stuff. But in our industry, you have to get people. It's like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or any of those places or Home Depot. I mean, that stuff is out way before it. Like, but it's because it's out because those places want you to buy that stuff before you come. You come into like you have to. Like if you're a craft store like Michael's or something, I'm starting my crafts in July for Christmas.
Right. So I set up beginning of October
Okay.
just because like we're so into like our fall sessions that I have my team set it up usually beginning of October because I need to test shoot all my sets to see what we need to order or order new couches or whatever. So we make sure that we have a month to be able to do all that.
So what kind of props do you recommend somebody that wants to do this, and if they're looking to do it kind of on a budget, but they're like wanting to start off, like, because what I think is the hard part for somebody starting something new like this is you buy all this stuff and nobody comes, and because you have to do test images to sell your stuff. You can't just like, you got to
Yeah.
go buy the things to do a couple of test images so that you can actually promote it. So how would you
So
recommend somebody that wants to get started kind of getting like their foot in the water, so to speak?
So I think if you start with one set, that's completely fine. I love velvet furniture. And you can get cheap velvet furniture on Amazon. Like it's not like it has to be like living room quality, it's not like somebody's laying there and taking a nap on it. Like it's sturdy enough that Santa's not going to go like that couch behind you. Perfect Santa couch. That is a perfect
I
Santa
have
couch.
3 of these kind of couches in
Yeah,
my
I do
studio.
too. I do too. My one this year was the green version of that couch. So you just have to think of like something that you're also going to be able to use later on for other sessions. So I shoot a ton of boudoir. So velvet furniture is super versatile. I honestly I'm like a hoarder in my studio. Like I don't even need to go buy anything. I just find some random stuff around the studio, build it forward. So the biggest part is building the depth in the set. So you don't have to spend a ton of money. You can buy a beautiful backdrop that has depth, light it correctly. That is super important. A piece of furniture, again, velvet, because it's going to save you a bunch of editing time later on. And then just some stuff, whatever is in your backdrop has to become then 3D down onto the floor. So the kicker with giving away that it's a backdrop is that you see that, bottom of the backdrop to the floor and it never lines up correctly. So as long as you kind of build out the bottom of whatever's in the backdrop, just kind of bring that forward. You can take a little $200 trip to Hobby Lobby and be able to build forward a set as long as you have a good piece of furniture in there too.
Okay.
And find your random Christmas decorations at home. That's what I do. I'm done by Thanksgiving, so I can take half my crap that I have at my house and just throw that in a set, and then it's still home by the time I need to decorate anyway.
So like, if you were starting out and doing this, like when would you recommend somebody starting to advertise if they're doing it for the first year? Because like advertising in January or February for Christmas seems a little ridiculous.
July. So I do a big push for Christmas in July. I start July 1st, and every single day in July there is something about Santa, and that's typically when I'm going to open up that the third, fourth day, or it's usually the fourth or the fifth day, because that's when I'm posting it. People are like, I want to book this, and it's like, oh, let me add you to the list, or I'll just open another day beforehand, because you can do a giant push and it makes sense to people. Like February, nobody wants to look at Santa pictures. Like they're like, we're poor from Christmas. Like we don't want to do that. So if you get it kind of like right when people are getting their tax returns, people are like, what can I spend my money on? And that is like perfect timing where they've kind of just gotten their, a big chunk of change. They will start booking at that point.
Have you ever thought
People get
about
that.
have you ever thought about doing something like, especially because you have 50% of your clients are coming back every single year, have you ever considered or thought about doing like a subscription based thing where if they're coming back every year, they're paying you X amount of dollars monthly that just goes towards their next year's session, and so you have a reoccurring income every month that, instead of a big lump of cash at the end of the year?
I am now.
Thanks
No,
for the idea, John.
Yeah, that's a really good
That
idea,
one's
John.
free.
Yeah, there you go. There's your tip for coming on. No, I have not, but that is a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, because I've been thinking about the same kind of thing with like our clients, because we have a few of them in the family world that they come back, not maybe every year, but they'll come back every couple of years or something. And so it's just like I've seen some people, and I know some people that do type of a thing, and it's really easy to set up in like Square or Stripe that you have a subscription and it's $200 a month or whatever. And it's like, and you could even sell it like you spent $3,000 this year. $3,000 divided by, let's take out December this year because it's Christmas, and let's take out January because you're recovering from Christmas. So for $300 a month, you can pay for your next year's exact same thing that you're going to do next year. And then if you decide to buy any more, then you'll have this $3,000 credit with us that, if you decide to spend $4,000, because here's the thing, the other, like, people will forget that they spent that $3,000 over the year, and then they'll spend another $2,000 or $3,000 with you because it's like, oh, I've got some spare change, I mean, something to think about. But I think for what you're doing and you're getting these reoccurring clients, it's a good idea to like think outside of the box in those regards, because here's the thing, when you have a slow month, you have money coming in,
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. No, I've never done that, but I
There
mean, I'm
you
like,
go.
probably think about it.
No, oh my gosh, there's so much about this. So I want to finish off. I know you got another thing to go to here in a little bit, but before I would I would kick myself if I didn't let you have a chance to plug this. But what do you have coming up in July that you want to tell us all about? Because like I told my wife was like, "Why do you want to go to Omaha?" And I told her, and I was just like, and it's one day, but whatever. I mean, it's just like, tell us what you're doing in July.
It's first off, Omaha is a huge tourist destination. We have great things. We have a zoo.
You have a
We
tractor
have
that goes around the street.
Yeah, you can see the tractors, like all the beautiful tractors. So we are doing a Santa workshop in July. So I have done tons of like mentoring, and I do one-on-one mentoring sessions like for people that don't want to come to Omaha, which I don't understand why they wouldn't want to come. But so I do Zoom mentorings that really goes into like the whole process of, the labs that we use, all the whole thing, start to finish. But we at our workshop are going to go into everything. So we will do set building. We will have Santa come in. I will show you how we have the kids interact with Santa and vice versa. How my assistant gets everything to flow through, how we build the sets, how we, literally everything from start to finish, the start of when we have that first communication with the client to the full editing process, how we design the albums, everything. So it's going to be probably a really long day. Like I think I put it as like
It sounds like a week's worth of
yeah,
clinician stuff, and you're doing it in a day.
it's because I mean, really, but I want everyone to be able to shoot too, because I want everyone to leave and have, instead of having to create their own sets and do test images, like you can just go and order the same set that I have once you book it.
Right.
So you will have beautiful images.
Well, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but you're taking images from the previous set and previous year to advertise the next year. You're not like, I mean, you don't have to show what this is what our set this year looks like. I mean, like nobody cares. They just want
But
the
I've done it.
experience.
I've done it long enough that I feel like people are like, I trust your judgment. But I feel like somebody starting out, I feel like you do need to advertise what they're going to.
Fair enough. But I think if you're selling the experience as opposed to the actual finished photo, then that's going to sell. I talk about this a lot. It's just like photos sell themselves to a certain degree. It's the experience is the most important thing for people, and you're creating experience with the letters, the whole thing that happens even before they walk in the door. Right. And so I think that's a big part of the selling point. I don't disagree with you wholeheartedly that, especially if you're starting out, you want to have, but if you have something that reflects the vision
As
of
long
what you're
as you
going
have
to do.
something to show, I feel like you can't say, I'm doing Santa sessions.
Yes.
These amazing Santa sessions, because I feel like
I've tried this before with mini sessions with like
doesn't
Christmas
work.
mini. It's like, here's an empty set with nobody in it.
Yeah.
Who wants to be in this set?
Yeah, you could be the star. And I call them limited edition sessions. I never call them mini sessions because I feel like mini sessions say cheap.
Cheap. Yeah.
And so mine are limited edition. So every sort of, they're mini sessions. Let's be honest, they're bougie mini sessions. But I call them limited edition sessions. It's a limited edition series is what I call it.
So that clinic, how much does it run for that clinic?
I think it's 1,400.
Okay. And it's a day long type of thing. It's like,
and then you'll leave with like our storybook template, letter template, like all the brochures, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it comes with like everything.
Is this the first time you've done this, or you've had these before in the past?
So I used to do them on my imagination sessions. I kind of took off a break from teaching other than like at the guilds and things like that. So it's been a couple of years since I've done a workshop. So I have had a lot of people, especially since apparently Megan DePiero's thing blew up, and I probably had 50 people message me. And so I'm like, well, I should probably get something together. So a couple people asked, and I'm like, sure, we'll do a workshop up to 10 people is where I'm at now. If it gets to be more than that, then we'll probably have to split it up into different days.
Different days and different times. And July is a good time because, like you said, you can start promoting it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Will you go into editing side of things with this stuff too?
We'll go over everything, like the whole process, because I think it's like if you're spending an hour editing, so our images take like 2 minutes to edit. I shouldn't say that out loud.
No,
hopefully
I
not
mean, but
answer.
I think that's a good thing for people to know, because when you
Uh,
look at your stuff, you're thinking it takes hours, but I understand people,
yeah.
photographers over edit because they feel like there's value in over editing. And then it's like, but you're like, you're doing too much work for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of it can be built into like actions and things like that. It doesn't need to be as hard as people make it seem. If you're lighting correctly and you're doing the right edit, and it doesn't need to take more than a couple minutes per image.
Okay.
So, like when you're like, how are you turning it around that fast? Well, because we can edit 50 images in an evening, because it really doesn't take
Are
that
you
long.
doing this yourself, the editing?
I have a person that helps me with it.
Okay.
For sure.
And then
Again,
they help you with the ordering side of things, or do you do all that
no,
too?
I do all of it, because
Okay.
if I mess it up, then it's my fault.
Yeah. I have somebody that messes my stuff up every now and then,
Yeah.
but
Is it you?
it's still my
Is it-
fault.
Yeah.
No,
I like to mess up my own.
I have an employee that does stuff, and we've just come to the conclusion that, even if I do it, I'm going to mess it up. So it's just
Yeah.
like, I have him do it, and he doesn't I mean, I joke, he does not mess up much.
Yeah.
He's also my editor, and so it saves workflow time of like, once he's
Yeah.
done editing, he can just send it off, and it doesn't need to go through another process of me downloading it and then going into, it's just
Yeah.
like,
And I have it where the workshop's set up that if you have, so like say the main photographer wants to come and they want to bring their editor with them, it's like a $400 or $500 upgrade to be able to bring your editor with you. So that way you can have the whole team there.
Oh my gosh, Megan, this is so good. I like, thank you so much. I know you got to run because you got another thing here coming up in a few minutes, but where can people find you? Where can people find the workshop and all that kind of stuff? Where could they find you?
So I'm Megan Michael Photography. You can message me on Facebook. You can email me. Don't email me. Don't email me. I hate email. I think it's the most impersonal thing ever. And I accidentally delete them because I get so much junk mail. Don't email me. You can either just message me on my Facebook. So go to Megan Michael Photography, message me on my business page, and I can get you the link. So I am not going to put the link just out there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I will put your link, and then if you give me the link, I'll put it in the show notes.
That's
and
perfect.
We can put it in the
That's
show
perfect.
notes and everything. But I'll have links to Megan's website, so you can see the beautiful, amazing work that she does, not just in the Santa world, but also in everything else that she does. But and then I'll put her Facebook link as well, and you can message her, and we'll get the link to the workshop so that you can register for that. I'm hoping I can get up there in July.
Yeah, come to Omaha.
I would
It's
love
so
to get
fun.
up there and do this, because I think this is something that's going to be in the future of
And
junk
it's
laser
warm.
photography.
It's warm in July. Like it's great here in July. You don't want to come here in January, but July is totally.
But on the flip side, it's hot
Yeah. See, you'll
it's
be able to
hot.
come here and cool
My
off.
Santa doesn't have the ease of your Santa because it's
Right.
hot in here. I've got to turn the AC down to like 50.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, thanks again, Megan. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing and being so honest and open and everything with us, and all that stuff. Because your work is beautiful. What you're doing is great, and continued success in what you're doing. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. I'll talk
All
to you
right.
later. Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.